Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's installment of Try Something New Thursdays, which is part of a virtual series of 100 events of summer brought to you by Prince George's County Office of Community Relations. This evening, we have a very good lineup for you featuring our special guest who represents Employ Prince George's. I'd like to ask Mr. Walter Simmons if he would come forward and bring up his camera. Good evening, Mr. Simmons. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. So Mr. Simmons represents Employ Prince George's. He is the CEO and president of the quasi-government agency, which provides workforce intelligence and solutions for job seekers and businesses. So please, I'd like everybody to provide a warm virtual welcome to Mr. Simmons. I know we are in this virtual space, so I'm just gonna go ahead and clap it up for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So, Mr. Simmons, before we really get into today's questions, one thing that I want to delve into immediately is to ask you about what is workforce intelligence? I've been hearing that term tossed around a lot, and I'd just like to get your perspective as a workforce development senior professional. What are we talking about when we say workforce intelligence?
Workforce intelligence is the collective group of data that goes into determining what local areas and even our country's workforce is, commonly referred to as our labor force. Who are the people that are working? Who are the total amount of people? What is the total amount of people in any given area that can work versus those that are working? Why or why not are some people working? What industries are in demand? What industries are rapidly growing? And even drilling down to what specific occupations are in demand and growing. All of those data sets are what we call workforce intelligence. And it's actually a service that our Employ Prince George's Business Services Department provides to businesses to help them remain competitive when they're recruiting Prince George's County's top talent.
I see. And in keeping with that, when you say all of those data sets, I mean, they really drill down. Can you just tell me really quickly, is there a particular emerging profession that, you know, is being gleaned from this type of data?
Obviously, some of the in our region, in our local area, professional services is a growing industry. Information technology is a growing industry, as well as advanced manufacturing. Those are advanced manufacturing, of course, with Amazon headquarters, HQ2 coming to Northern Virginia. That's going to boost all of those industries, IT, professional services, and also advanced manufacturing for Amazon selling those products. But also, as recently reported, Amazon is building almost, I think, 6 new facilities in Maryland, several of which are going to be in Prince George's County, which is further going to grow our advanced manufacturing. And even related to the coronavirus, there's never been a bigger need of American manufacturers in our lifetimes. People that can produce ventilators, PPE, and other office furnitures to protect staff and customers from spreading the disease.
And to that point, COVID clearly has had an impact on everything, you know, how we communicate. We're in this virtual space tonight as a result of COVID. So in keeping with that, you know, we know that we've got to look online for jobs, but speak to us about what networking we should be doing to look for those jobs and how we need to, I guess, positively exploit those networks, if you will. And I'm speaking of things like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, you know, explain to us how those networking systems can assist us in our job search.
Well, your network is your net worth. I don't like to be cliche, but that is true. In a job search, the people around you are going to dictate your success. And your network can be your social network, your personal network, your family network, your professional network. When you're looking for a job, you really have to assess what networks are around you and that you're a part of, what networks best meet your goals, what networks might not be best. When we're talking to a lot of our young people, social media has always been a huge area of opportunity on one hand, but on the other hand, it also can be our pitfall. social media and a virtual world during the coronavirus has become far more important. And there has to be some kind of social media etiquette when you're doing your job search and in professional environment. And now there's a whole virtual etiquette that needs to take place. Even how we interact and engage with on Zoom, conference calls, and how we answer the phone, how we have our voicemails, our emails, all of those ways where your networks collide are very important, and there's an etiquette that you must have. But in general, most people don't realize that the majority, 85 to 90% of jobs are never posted online or outside of an organization. So if you want to get one of those jobs, Nicole, you have to have someone in your network that can connect you to a job that you don't even know about. And then you have to magnify your network again, your personal, your family, your professional, your social networks, your social media. All of those are networks that you can use to identify opportunities that might not be open to the public.
Now, just so I can be clear, in case my director's watching, I'm not currently looking for a job, but thank you very much for that plug right there. But I still want to keep this energy going with respect to the social media etiquette that you spoke of, as well as the virtual etiquette that we now need to employ or to, I guess, sharpen our skills. And you also talked about networking and your family, you know, your personal network, perhaps even your religious network, maybe your university that you attended. And I often hear people talk about 6 degrees of separation, but can you kind of explain the concept that you shared with us when you talked about those 7 degrees of separation in that virtual world?
So in the virtual world, the biggest tool that you can use is LinkedIn when you're talking about networking. Your LinkedIn should be 100% professional. Sometimes that we are allowing our networks to collide and keep Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat on one side. Keep your LinkedIn separated unless you have a professional Twitter or professional Instagram. But generally, LinkedIn is your social media network that's professional.
Okay.
7 degrees
Right.
of networking, it means that I believe that there's 7 people that are preventing you from connecting with who you want to be connected to take your next step in your career. And some people might call it stalking. Some people might call it serial networking. I like to call it being a serial networker. And what that means, if you're applying for an industry, you should always research the top businesses in the industry that you want to get in. You need to look at the top businesses in your region. From that point, you need to identify what are the various departments or markets within that industry that you believe you have the skill set for. You then can identify who are the leaders at that company who are in those markets. Once you identify that leader or leaders, because you should never put all your rocks in one basket, you should look at maybe 6 or 7 companies that you want to work for in your region and identify the key points of contact at each of those companies that you want to engage with. Now, after you have identified those people that you want to engage with, you have to, sometimes you can directly engage with someone head on, but that's where you actually kind of look like a stalker, right? You don't want to just start randomly connecting with all these people and engaging them and they don't know who you are. You're going to scare them away. Right. You know, the loudest dog in the park that's barking, even though they might want to make friends, that's normally the dog that everybody stays away from. So you want to slowly engage. And what that means is there's several different techniques you can do. One, you want to look at what groups that person belongs to. You want to join those groups. Mm-hmm. You want to look at articles and postings that they're sharing, reading, liking, and commenting on. You want to start reading, sharing, and liking those comments. Third, you want to see the type of discussions that they're involved in. What are they posting? What are they commenting on? You want to try to start creating those own discussions and inserting them as well. Eventually, the algorithm that LinkedIn has, because the commonalities that are going to happen between you and that person are eventually going to align. You then, either they will eventually connect with you by going through their network list, or LinkedIn would actually tell you that these are people you may know for these reasons. And that's how you actually connect with someone without directly coming to their inbox to connect with them. That's an authentic connection through a LinkedIn algorithm. At that point, you then want to commonly like what they're sharing. You want to respond or comment. You want to share things and tag them that's relevant. You don't want to tag them in random things that's not relevant, because then they're going to be like, why is this person engaging with me? Right. You want people to see a benefit from engaging with you. At this point, you should also be applying for that job. And eventually, your social network and your professional network will collide and become one. What this means is when that resume comes across that person's desk, or when a job opportunity is shared and you share it and they see that you share it and they've already been engaging with you for several weeks, they'll say, hey, I work for that company. You should send me your resume. I'll forward it to the decision maker. Or if they're the decision maker, your resume will come across their desk, and subconsciously they will know who you are from social media, LinkedIn, and not even realize it. And by that point, when you connect with them in all those different areas, or identify people who can connect with them, those different degrees of how you engage, posting, liking, sharing, connecting, commenting, and then becoming one, are your 7 degrees of how you can turn a stranger into a colleague.
You know, that's very interesting. I never really deduce, so much from how you can network in the virtual space, or social media rather, for the employment purposes. And I guess what that brings to bear, people talk about emotional intelligence, but now there's employment intelligence that you should have. And that is typically not traditionally, I'm a woman of a certain age. That's not how I was trained to approach my job search.
I don't believe it.
It's true. I got the kids to prove it. But now that we're moving into this realm of not approaching things so traditionally, but approaching them from, I guess, a 21st century, aspect. Can you speak to me a little bit about some of those nuances or differences that perhaps someone like me, who is a little more, settled in my career, what I should be looking for versus someone who is entering the professional world now?
So I would say the difference between a traditional job search and a 21st century job search is one thing: who is doing the searching? There's always been a gap in skills for people that have, from employers that need a specific skill set, and the amount of people that have those skills. And the skills gap is the amount of people who don't have that skills. It's the gap in the amount of people that need it. So in a traditional job search, just like I'm assuming when you and I both started job searching, we would open the newspaper. We would then go cut out clippings. They should tell you all the time in workforce development, carry a pen and pencil with you, so that when you go to an employer and you fill out an application, you don't ask that employer for a pen. Those were the old traditional job search techniques that, just like that newspaper, we need to throw it out. No, you rarely see people buying newspapers anymore. Nobody carries $1 in quarters to go put money in the paper machine, right? If you can even find a paper machine. So just like the paper is gone, the traditional job search is gone. The 21st century job search is make sure that you and the brand that you are. A lot of people acclimate or think of brand with a product like cereal or Procter and Gamble or Apple or a music brand or shoes like Nike or Jordan. But you are your own brand, and you can market your brand in the networks around you. Marketing your brand means your resume and your cover letter. It means your social media. It also means your online presence. Google yourself. See what finds out. A lot of times there's going to be a lot of people that have the same names. There's an actor that has my exact same name. So when you Google Walter Simmons, that actor comes up. But if you Google Walter Simmons in Prince George's County, I come up. If you Google Walter Simmons in workforce development, a lot of times my image comes up. That's my online presence. So that's what you want to create your brand. And employment is like dating. It's like all of these mobile apps like Tinder and Plenty of Fish and eHarmony or whatever you can swipe left or swipe right on. There's a lot of them I don't know them on, right? The goal of the 21st century job search is that your brand is what employers want and identify. LinkedIn has a recruiting tool. Monster has an online recruiter. Facebook has an online recruiter. Indeed has an online recruiter. These are automatic kind of filtering search engine tools that employers can register for, and people who have a strong online presence in the field of those employers will actually pop up to those employers. Employer Prince George's has it. I all the time get connections, and LinkedIn will tell me, or Monster or Indeed will tell me, these are the people that we think fit the qualifications for jobs at your company. And that's where you reverse that job search, and where now the employer engages you. When you reach a point in your career where you can maximize success, it's when employers ask you to interview or apply with them, not when you have to cold call or cold apply, where you just fill out an application and you sit here and you hope and pray that they call you. You want the opposite of that. And I say it's just like dating, and it's just like when somebody knocks on your door, that brand that you build, when somebody knocks on the door, the first thing people do is look through the blind, they look through the people. Nobody wants to admit it, but we know we all have acted like we weren't on the other side of that door. But when they look, that's the online presence in the resume sometimes. Based on how you look, the employer is going to decide, do they want to open that door, or do they want to open your door and invite you in? The interview or even your social media profiles is what determines if they invite you in. If you don't separate your personal and professional profiles, that can be the difference in that employer inviting you in and saying they want you to represent their brand, or your brand matches as their brand. Once you get to that interview or that social media, they invite you through the door. And at the point when you get through the door, it's all about proving that who you are in real life is the same person that your brand represents on social media and online. And so there's a new science to this job search that is more than just filling out applications, submitting your name, and hoping that someone hires you. The 21st job search is about building your personal brand, making sure that brand aligns with the industries and employers that you want to go to, and ensuring that you are doing everything in a virtual format to ensure that your brand is strategically placed in front of those industries and companies that you want them in front of. That is the difference. The days of just filling out applications and waiting for a call back are long gone, especially when 85 to 90% of the jobs aren't even posted anymore. So when you apply for jobs all day, just know that you only applied to 10% of the available jobs in the network. And that's all you have access to. Your network, your brand, your presence, and how you put that brand and maximize that network so that's in the presence of many others will determine your long-term success.
Now, and to that point, you touched on quite a bit, but one thing that I really want to drill down on in understanding the shift from the traditional job search to the 21st century job search. Like you mentioned, we come from the school of, we did it through newspapers. And I remember distinctly too, being told that you need to have a professional presence on your resume. Like you spoke of. So I hope nobody has this email address, but I'll just say that even though I'm not an HR professional or workforce development professional, if I see your resume and it says baddie@gmail.com, I'm probably going to put that to the side because perhaps that's not necessarily what we're looking for. But in keeping with that, when we're talking about branding, understanding branding, we can use, the traditional types of resumes, your chronological, your traditional, but then there's also virtual resumes. Can you speak to us a little bit about resumes and what's more effective, I guess, depending on where you are in your station of your career?
So there's never one type of resume. Again, there's depending on who you are, your experience. A lot of people who are on the opposite spectrums of the age ranges, younger people and people who are older, tend not to have chronological resumes. And that's because they don't want to tell people their age, because there is discrimination that happens. They're going to discriminate against you because you're too young, or they can discriminate against you because you're too old. So a chronological resume actually shows years. If you're in the middle of your career and you want to show that you have the experience in 5 or 10 years, a chronological resume is great to show that. The point where you have 0 years or 1 year or 2 year, or you have 36 years and you don't really want to show your age, You still don't want to go towards a skills resume where you aren't really highlighting jobs, you're highlighting skill sets, or you're highlighting positions. Titles matter. People want to get directorships. That's where you have a director. They want to get a C-suite. That's where you have a chief, a C in your title. They want manager or they want project manager. You want to have a resume that can speak to that. You also want to have a cover letter. Every cover letter should be different. The cover letter should depend on the company. There's also different types of resumes. You have a skill-based, a chronological resume. That's a paper resume, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't relate to every industry. Depending on your industry, your resume might change. If you're in a arts and humanities industry, your resume might be your portfolio. And you don't want to, we're no longer mailing people a book of music, a cassette tape. You want to create some kind of virtual file. But also, we see it all the time. How many times have you transferred a file and the email rejected says too large or the person can't hear it? So you don't want to even create a file. You actually might want to create a web page through multiple services where you can house your music and actually send that web link to an employer, and that becomes your resume. The same thing with people who take pictures, play music, or videographers. They all have a virtual resume that they can send out. If you're in IT, a lot of times people don't realize, even if you're in coding, they want to see what IT languages you can speak. You can actually, as a coder, have a simulation of you breaking or writing a code that is recorded, and it can actually show the average coder with so-and-so skill level will write or break this code in so-and-so amount of minutes. And you can actually take that, record that, and actually show you writing or breaking that code above the normal proficiency level and send that to the employer. And you actually showing your employer that you can write code at a certain skill level is going to be better than any resume or cover letter that you will ever send that IT employer, because they don't want to see what you wrote on paper. They want to see what you can do in the field. So your resume has to be customized to who you are. It has to be customized to the industry you're in. It has to be customized for the level that you're applying for. And it has to speak to the actual skill set of what that employer is looking for. You really have to take that into account. And the number one group that struggles with resume are not new job seekers. The number one group of people that struggle with resumes are people that have long tenured work histories. If you've been working for a company for 10 years, most likely that means it's been about 10 years since you last put a lot of effort into a resume. And that, and every year resumes and workforce development changes. And so a lot of those people really should start looking at your resume as they do that. And that's a service that Employer Prince George's offers.
That's a great segue, Mr. Simmons, because we talked a lot about the employment search and the difference between the traditional search and the 21st century search, as well as what's been happening in light of the pandemic. I want to take this opportunity to highlight what you all do at Employer Prince George's. Similar to our Office of Community Relations, we're charged with the mission of connecting resources, connecting the community. But I think that sometimes people have to step outside of their, business model, their mission, their vision. And you all have done an awesome job of doing that with assisting the community in light of COVID. So I want you to talk a little bit about what you've done with respect to being actionable in the community in light of the crises, but also the various programs and services you have at Employer Prince George's.
So thank you, Nicole. That's a good introduction, because one of the services that we offer is services for businesses. And when I say a business, we talk about employers, nonprofit, for-profit, private and public, government or public companies. And during the coronavirus, the economy and landscape of the world shifted. Employer Prince George's offers businesses and nonprofits, any employer, customized services to meet their needs. That means we can help with free job posting, recruitment, and onboarding and training of new staff. How that's changed during the coronavirus is through our Career Edge, our virtual workforce platform, and that's employpgedge.com for all the people that are watching, employpgedge, we actually are offering a portal and a platform that allows businesses and job seekers to engage with each other at no cost. We have Zoom integrated where businesses can do virtual career fairs at no cost. There's also services that we've reached out for job seekers and various residents. There's one program that I think everybody should know. It's called Skill Up Prince George's County. This is for people that are in school, are out for summer, are taking a break, are laid off, but know they're going to go back to their job, are currently working but want to grow. Skill Up Prince George's County is a free online initiative that we offer over 4,000 free courses to Prince George's County residents. This is an opportunity while people are home during the coronavirus to improve their skills. So between our Career Edge platform, which is employpgedge.com, they can get free virtual services. Businesses and job seekers can engage. And through Skill Up Prince George's County, they can actually get access to over 4,000 free professional development courses ranging from safety, HR, finance, on up to project management and healthcare. And that is at our website at employpg.org. Click the training tab. And then lastly, we have our traditional workforce development services. Employ Prince George's offers a number of different programs, which I know we're going to get into, to help people out. And specifically during the coronavirus, we've launched our COVID-19 Workforce Development Recovery Program and our Hourly Employee Relief Fund. So there's a lot that we do, Nicole, but I know the big key is going to be those big programs that we launch. And what's currently being provided on the screen is the list of the 10 workforce development programs that Employ Prince George's offers. We offer 5 industry-specific programs. These are programs that directly prepare and connect job seekers to the top industries in our region. We have a construction works program for the construction and real estate industry, also transportation. We have the Hospitality and Accommodation Institute, which is focusing on hospitality, customer service, and food and beverage. We have our Educational Partnership for IT Careers, which is focusing on IT, information technology, and cybersecurity. We also have our Professional Services Institute, which is preparing people for all of the professional services jobs, as well as careers in education. Lastly, we have our Capital Area Healthcare Alliance, one of the most in-demand industries in the world. Healthcare, yes. One of the biggest industries right now. We prepare people for careers in healthcare. But we also have programs that are for specific demographics. We have a large reentry, people who are returning citizens. Prince George County is number 2 for the amount of returning citizens in Maryland. Our Pathways to Success program helps returning citizens, people with criminal records or those who are just as involved that might be involved with the court system right now, get a job, get access to services. We're also number 1, Prince George County is number 1 for veterans in Maryland. We have a Veterans Career Connections program. We also have an older population. We've been a veteran community, but a lot of people who might have been working for years want to go back to the workforce. So we have an older workers integration project. And then we also, not to save it for last, or we'll save the best for last, we have multiple youth programs. We have our Knowledge Equals Youth Success program for 18 to 24-year-olds that are out of school. And we have our Youth Career Connections programs for high school juniors and seniors in Prince George's County.
So as I already knew, you all do quite a bit, but I'd like to ask if we could put the slide up about the COVID-19 effort that you all have been aggressively involved in pretty much, since the beginning. I can clearly remember when we were hosting some other sessions, seeing Employ Prince George's out there with the gift card giveaway. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about that.
So like any business, any nonprofit, Employ Prince George's had to shift to make the change to meet the needs of our economy and really meet the needs of our community. We always say #WeAreEPG, and we post that a lot, and we really care about our family and our community in Prince George's County. And so we created the COVID-19 Hourly Employee Relief Fund. And Nicole, I want to give a breaking news, huge shout out. We set a goal of raising $500,000 to provide thousands of people in our county $200 Visa cards who've been laid off. We know that from your last paycheck to the time it takes to register for unemployment, and we know that's been an issue, there's going to be a gap where there's no money coming into households. The $200 from our COVID-19 Hourly Employee Relief Fund provides families with $200 that they can spend it anywhere where Visa cards are expected, gas, a utility bill, a grocery, a birthday cake for your kid that doesn't think they're going to have a birthday, or whatever you need while you're in your hard times. And it's actually money that you can spend on whatever you need, $200. People can apply for that through our employpgedge.com website. That's employpgedge.com. And we've raised to date, as I mentioned, we set a goal for 500,000. We've actually raised over $600,000. The Employed Prince George's board put up $100,000. The county executive's office and county council has supported this effort. Individual councils have supported this effort. Councilman Streeter, Councilman Hawkins, Councilman Harrison, Councilman Turner have all supported this effort. Councilman Franklin. Also, the city of Hyattsville has allocated money for Hyattsville residents along with the city of Bowie. So it's open to every Prince George County resident. If you need assistance, have been laid off due to the coronavirus, visit employpgedge.com and apply for our COVID-19 Hourly Employee Relief Fund. But Nicole, as you know, the county has gone into phase 2 opening. Maryland's opening. We don't know how long we're going to stay open, but things are opening and jobs are available. We have almost an 11% unemployment rate as of May. And that's going to have to change, and we got to put people to work. And what people don't realize is, Nicole, is all of the jobs, unfortunately, are not going to reopen. Some are not going to come back. Some people are going to be permanently unemployed if they're planning on going back to that business. So we launched the COVID-19 Workforce Development Recovery Program, where we're helping to provide free training. We can actually provide free tuition for workforce development programs that are related to in-demand industries in the county and that are registered with the state or the federal government. That's CDL, construction, healthcare, social work, HR, professional services. If there's a workforce development non-degree granting course, most likely we can pay for it if it's under $4,000. We can also connect you directly with employers that are hiring right now. We have virtual hiring events bi-weekly, or we can actually work with employers who can't afford to hire someone right now. We can actually supplement about half of a new hire salary to help get that employer through the door, get that job seeker through the door. So that we call that rapid rehire. So there's a number of different services through our COVID-19 Workforce Development Recovery Program. And I know it's a lot of information that your office is providing, which is great for our community. But if people need help, they can find it at employpg.org. That's employpg.org. And they should follow us on social media at EmployPG on all platforms. And subscribe and follow, because like Nicole knows, to everybody that's listening, we send out job fairs almost every single day. So every day that you're not connected through our website and receiving our emails, or you're not following us on social media, you're missing out on opportunities.
Walter, thank you very much. I know that we've had the opportunity to work together over the years, but this is unique and very memorable for me because it actually gave me a window into everything that you all are doing outside of what we may see on social media or what we even get internally. And before I let you go, I just want to ask if we could pull up a couple more slides, because we're out of time, but we're just going to do our little commercial break here, if you will, in this virtual space. We have a couple of things we'd like to make our viewers or listeners aware of. One is to please make sure that you complete your 2020 census. 10 years ago, when we did the census in 2010, who knew that we would be in the throes of a pandemic at this point? So it's crucial to make sure that you complete your 2020 census so we can inform what our spending looks like moving forward. And hopefully we won't find ourselves in another public health, public safety crisis such as this. But if we do, we need to make sure that we've informed the federal government of the money that we need to make sure that we can continue to move forward and be Prince George's proud. And on that note, thank you again, Walter, for joining us. And I'd just like to ask everybody, please remember to wear your face mask.
There you go. And get counted.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you for joining us.